I finished my coaching qualification, and then they're
Mm.
like, so, you need to pick a niche, and I'm like,
Mhm.
well, what do you do when you've done a coaching qualification where the whole philosophy is you stay pure coaching? You don't lead anyone
Mm.
anywhere. So the second you finish coaching, creating a business is entirely at odds with everything you've been taught because you can't market coaching. No one tells you this when you do your coaching qualification.
Right.
Nobody buys coaching unless you're like a coachy
Yeah,
coach.
yeah, right. Mm.
Um, and so I just started obsessing as you do. I'm like an avid learner.
Uh-huh.
Like, what's the niche? What's the niche? And
Yeah.
I hired my first coach, Greg Faxon.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was like, I'm not qualified to do anything. How can I pick a niche?
Yeah.
There's nothing I've done for anyone.
Mm.
And he said, well, do you want to go away and like get enough experience until you get to the point where you can say, I can do this? Or do you want to just put a stake in the ground and start working with people in that niche and stay pure and in integrity that you're going to coach them through it?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, yeah, that route. Let's do that one.
Hello and welcome to the True Wealth podcast, where we ask the question, what does it mean to be truly wealthy in this digital age of distraction and disconnection? I'm your host, Betty Cotton Birtles, blues singer, Buddhist, mum of two, and former global shoestring adventurer turned hypnotherapist and mindset coach. I believe that by healing our past and changing our beliefs, we may achieve not only the external successes, the house, the relationship, the money, the impact, but also internal success, the ability to actually enjoy our lives, because it's the joy and happiness that makes it all worthwhile. Join me as I invite friends, colleagues, and esteemed teachers to discuss means of enhancing enjoyment in our lives, following our inspiration as individuals to create whatever it is that lights us up, so that we might radiate that energy out into the world via our businesses or our day-to-day lives, with the intention that all beings may benefit. I believe that this is where true wealth lies. Welcome to the show. Hello and welcome to another episode. Today's guest is the very lovely Gemma Gilbert, who is a coach, a business coach, and she helps people specifically with evergreen programs. So if you're running a group program online, and instead of doing cohort after cohort after cohort, running a live program, she helps people to create and run evergreen group programs, which means that you have one flagship offering and then you're consistently bringing on 3 to 5 new clients every month. So it's a rolling enrollment. So yeah, what I love about Gemma and on her website, she says that she's a serial introvert, she's a lover of nature and animals, she's a personal development junkie. She used to be a teacher, and yeah, she talks about her childhood having two head teachers as parents, and then the journey into motherhood and how that made her start to ask how she could build something that fit around being with her son, spending time with her son. So we talk a lot about balance and how to balance business with motherhood, and also the importance of finding your people and what it was like for both of us being at summer camp last year, the Happy Startup Summer Camp in Sussex. Yeah, and what I was going to say was that what I love about Gemma, when you look at her website, gemmagilbert.com, she talks a lot about if you're booked out or burnt out, from being fully booked with one-to-ones, you might be thinking about moving into this group model of running group programs. And the two words that really stood out for me from her website are simplicity and spaciousness, both things that I think really are very important to myself. So, yeah, it was a lovely conversation. I really enjoyed it. Very relaxed, laid back conversation. And yeah, informative too. I mean, inspiring. It's always lovely to hear about people who've experienced success in their thing, and hopefully this will be inspiring for you too. And you know, it will also give you. Gemma goes into detail about her different offerings and how to grow your audience if you're a bit earlier on in the journey. So I hope that you enjoy this conversation. I know I certainly did, and I really look forward to seeing Gemma again, and maybe inviting her back on the podcast. We'll see. All right. Well, enjoy the conversation. Without further ado, here is my conversation with Gemma Gilbert. Hello, Gemma, and welcome to the show.
Hello, Betty. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's really nice to have you. So tell us where you are and how it is there today.
I am in Nottingham, and it's a beautiful sunny day. It's crisp, and I had to de-ice
Mm.
my car this morning, but I had the most glorious dog walk in the sunshine. So it's a good day.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh yeah, I went for a walk this morning too, and there was ice around, and it always makes it very beautiful, doesn't it? Are
And
you
I love.
in the city? Like,
It's like a suburb. It's called West Bridgeford. It's very
hmm.
quaint. We have a river and
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
it's a lovely park. And I love dressing up warm on a cold day as well. Like I live in my mittens, and I'm a strong advocate that most adults should have mittens and not gloves.
What is it about mittens that you like?
They actually keep your hands warm,
Oh,
whereas
I see.
gloves
Yeah.
like isolate your fingers in this really unnatural way, as if each finger should be dressed like that.
Yeah, great. Okay, I've never really thought about it. I've never had a problem with isolated fingers before, but maybe I will now. Thanks. No, yeah, great. Lovely. But you don't find problems holding the dog lead when you're wearing mittens. It doesn't
I
slip
mean,
out of your
it's
hands.
a skill. It's a skill.
Have you got a big dog or a little one?
He's bigger than I want him to be. Yeah, he was meant to be a small cockapoo, and he's a really big cockapoo. But he
Okay.
still thinks he's a lap dog, so
Oh,
he wants to be that kind of little dog sitting on your lap. But he's the size of like a Labrador,
what's his
small
name?
Labrador. Ringo.
Ringo. Sweet. Lovely Ringo. That sounds rather nice. I do like the idea of having a dog sometimes. And then I think about, yeah, going on holiday and things like that makes it more complicated.
It
But
does. It
yeah,
does
do you
for
get a
sure.
dog sitter?
You develop a network. Uh,
Mm.
so my parents are part of my network, and then we have a dog walker, and he loves our dog. So he doesn't dog sit, but for our dog, he dog sits.
Oh, great.
Um,
You landed on your feet there.
yeah,
Cool. Okay, great. So, Gemma, I've been looking at your website and I'm very excited because it feels like, you know, the podcast being called True Wealth and the idea behind that being that it's about, it's not excluding money from the wealth picture, but just, you know, not knowing that wealth isn't the be all, money isn't the be all and end all when it comes to being wealthy. That it's about more than that. And I love what you do because on your website somewhere it said something about you really and I love that the website's so beautifully designed, by the way. Really beautiful
it was. I
website.
had it. Someone redesigned it last year, and I love it.
It's so the words are simplicity and spaciousness. Those were the two I picked out, and I just thought, yeah, and you're really reflecting that in your branding. So congratulations there.
Thank you.
Tell us about your niche then, what your thing is, and ideally how you got there. So
Yeah.
bit of
So
background.
where I've ended up is helping people grow a simple business, largely focused around one program, like one flagship group program that you are known for. I then break the rules and I have a couple of others. But it's the backbone because what we can end up doing as entrepreneurs is moving a million miles an hour, launching thing after thing, and getting caught up in this rushing, non-stop launching frenzy, which, because our businesses are often, part of our soul, it can be totally all consuming and you end up with very little balance in life beyond that. And I think having my son, so my journey with this, my son was the reason I started my business. When I realized I'd been lied to my whole life about this work, this 9 to 5 gig that we should have. And I became so disillusioned when I had him, and I was in a traveling sales role at the time.
Mm,
And I resented every night I spent away from him.
mm,
And I didn't really expect having a child to, just instantly change my values from quite a traditional upbringing of, you go to school, grammar school, university, you get a job and you climb the ladder and you become successful and then you've reached it. And I had two head teachers as parents and they
oh,
worked
wow.
childhood. And, they provided us a very lovely, privileged
Mm,
life
yeah.
as a result of that hard work. But we didn't see them very often.
Mm.
We had an au pair that looked after us because
Oh,
they were at work.
really?
And so
Yeah.
I thought that was what life was. And, that was a noble thing to do, that you go and you make money for your family, you work very hard. And when I realized I don't want to do that, you
Mm.
have to redefine it and break all of that conditioning and all of those patterns.
Yeah, right. Wow. So you had, just recapping here, so you had two head teachers for parents.
So
You
I
had
became a teacher.
so you became that, yeah, I thought you had said that previously. So you did
Yes.
become a teacher. Was that your first thing out of
That was
university?
my first big thing. Yeah, I did a
Yeah.
program called Teach First, where you go and
Oh,
teach in a
yeah.
disadvantaged school. And I taught for 5 years and became very disillusioned with our education system. I think it is inherently broken, and I
Mm.
feel so sad that my 8-year-old is in it, and receiving
Mm.
that very narrow focus and conditioning and rule
Mm.
following that life takes them. So I left that system and went into corporate
Was it
selling.
was it primary or secondary that you were in?
Secondary school
Secondary.
English
What
teacher.
was your subject?
English.
English. Okay.
Yeah, I love English. Always wanted to be a writer. Still do.
Oh, really?
I am
Oh,
a writer.
interesting. Yeah, you
Yeah.
are. I love that.
Um, so I left because just a job came up, when you're just scrolling
Mm,
job boards and there was a job selling educational software. And I thought, oh, this could be great because it's still in
mm,
education. And so I had this job going around the country selling this software to schools and then training them how to use it. And
mhm,
I loved it. I
mm.
loved being in the education world. I loved working directly with schools, but it was this traveling role. And then I had my son, and this is the thing that shifted everything.
Yeah.
Uh, and my husband at the time said to me, I found this thing called coaching. This
Mm.
and he wanted to do it, but he said, I think this would be really good for you. So I trained as a coach, not having any idea where that might go, just training in that skill set. And I was coaching my team in my job as well, so it was kind of quite nice. And
Is this after your son was born, Gemma?
no, this is before.
Before your son was born,
Yeah,
you were
before
doing
my
this,
son was
you
born.
started coaching. Okay.
Started coaching. And then my son was born, and uh, I realized I couldn't stay in that job. And so I started plotting. When you're on maternity leave and you're like, I don't want to go back to the old way. What could be the new way? And we all did this in my little NCT group, what's the plan?
Yeah. So what
And so
happened? What did you do? Because it is a complete rebirth, I think. It's not only that you're birthing a small human, but you are becoming a new I mean, this was my experience of becoming a mother. Suddenly, I didn't know who I was anymore. I had to kind of reinvent myself. And yeah, what was it like for you, Gemma?
I had a very traumatic start to being a mother. I had an emergency C-section and a very low period post my little boy being born. But post that, and then I had a really rough return to work. I had a most wonderful 9 months, but returning
Mm.
to work, I received a lot of the treatment that a lot of people speak, unfortunately, about the prejudice from having a baby when you're in a role that commands you to travel and be present. And the company restructured, and there was a whole thing that I'm not allowed to talk about. And ultimately, I left with some money, which gave me some time to buy myself into setting up my own business.
Wow.
And that gave me 9 months. I had 9 months to make money or go back to work.
So you left the job
I
because
left
of
the job.
the agreement that happened
Mhm.
with a bit of cash, not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
Um, and you immediately knew I'm going to start a business, or what
Well,
happened?
I'd been working behind the scenes. I'd been plotting. I'd been downloading all the
Yeah,
lead magnets,
okay.
reading all the things.
Yeah.
So
What was the first thing that kind of opened your eyes to that as a possibility, if you can
to
remember?
growing a coaching business.
Yeah. Can you remember the
I think
first?
it's like I remember I finished my coaching qualification, and then they're
Mm.
like, so you need to pick a niche, and I'm like,
Hmm.
well, what do you do when you've done a coaching qualification where the whole philosophy is you stay pure coaching? You don't lead anyone
Mm.
anywhere. So the second you finish coaching, creating a business is entirely at odds with everything you've been taught because you can't market coaching. No one tells you this when you do your coaching qualification.
Right.
Nobody buys coaching unless you're like a coachy
Yeah,
coach.
yeah, right. Mm.
Um, and so I just started obsessing as you do. I'm like an avid learner.
Uh-huh.
Like, what's the niche? What's the niche?
Yeah.
And I hired my first coach, Greg Faxon.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was like, I'm not qualified to do anything. How can I pick a niche?
Yeah.
There's nothing I've done for anyone.
Mm.
And he said, well, do you want to go away and like get enough experience until you get to the point where you can say, I can do this? Or do you want to just put a stake in the ground and start working with people in that niche and stay pure and in integrity that you're going to coach them through it?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, yeah, that route. Let's do that one.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So I started, and so I chose mums who wanted to leave the corporate 9 to 5 to start their own business because of, all of the things that I had
Mm.
experienced myself. I
Mm.
started.
Great. What was that like?
I loved it. I mean, it was terrifying. I
Yeah.
I just did sales call after sales call, got no after no after no after
Yeah.
no. But it was like an induction of fire, and I learned so much. And I don't know why, but I think, when you're a new entrepreneur, you have this you have this arrogance that this is going to be easy that lasts maybe a couple of months, that Greg was like, just go schedule endless calls. And I was like, okay.
Uh-huh.
So I just did it and just start posting on social media. Okay. And I just started doing it. And I didn't massively overthink it. And I think it really worked for me working with someone that was so straight. You're just going to fucking do this. This is what you're going to do. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. Um,
Oh,
and
that's great.
everyone seemed to resonate with my message because I was quite
Mm.
honest and authentic. And people
Mm.
seemingly weren't very used to people being honest and
Oh,
authentic.
yeah. Funny
Uh,
that. Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing. So it it worked
Especially
quite well.
online. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in business.
So my
Mm.
first ever Facebook group, which is where I sort of grew my business from, was called Mummy's Got Clients.
Oh,
And
great. I love that.
it just
Mummy's.
really stuck with people and it grew really fast.
Oh,
And
cool.
so I have a lot of business owners that were beginning of my journey and met me at the beginning of mine. We've just all grown
Oh, how
together, in a
lovely.
beautiful way over the last 6 years.
Oh, that's a great story. So so Mummy's Got Clients then evolved.
Yeah, I had to change the name. I was very sad because it's, memorable. It's now
Hmm.
it's now called, it's really fucking boring. It's called Gemma Gilbert Grow with Group Programs.
Well, it
Um,
does what it says on the tin.
yeah, it's more Ron Seal, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I grew my business in a very traditional way. I filled my one-on-one roster
Hmm.
and then I got full and I very quickly realized that I had replaced one chain with another. And I
Yeah.
was like, I don't want this. I don't want to spend
No.
every day. And I'm a big introvert. I don't like talking to many people in a
Uh-huh.
day.
Hmm.
Um, and I would find I would finish in the evenings with just nothing left to give
Hmm.
my son.
Mm.
Um,
How old was
so
your son at this point?
he was probably 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were working full time, effectively.
Yes, I think I was working 3 days.
Uh-huh. But
So I had
full days.
full days and he was like
Mm.
nursery hours, there's like
Uh-huh.
7 a.m. till 5:30. And that made me sad as well, like you're
Yeah.
nursery for longer than the working day.
Yeah. It's a lot, isn't it, for the little people? Gosh.
And then you get the shock of school, and then it goes from like 9 till 3, and you're like, oof, that's different.
Yeah, well, our children go to a Steiner school, and the holidays are longer, and the school day is, well, the week is shorter. They finish early on a Friday, so yeah, yeah. So short hours,
I
yeah.
wish my son went to a Steiner school.
Yeah, we actually moved here to West Wales for the school, so it's a very special place. And yeah, there's always something good and left to be desired, I guess, about all situations, isn't it? So tell us, so where are we then with the story? So you've got
Filled my roster,
you
and I
filled your
realized
roster.
the
You're working,
model
yeah, that's it. So you're
wasn't
working.
sustainable. And so I'm a good doer, I'm a good implementer, and I'm a good
Uh-huh.
learner. So I was like, okay, so I need a one-to-many business model. So
Yeah.
I'll launch a group program and I'll launch a membership. And I spent the next couple of years launching group programs of every
Hmm.
variety, 30-day programs, 6-month programs, masterminds. And we grew the most wonderful membership that was called Today, Not Tomorrow, um, to 250 people. And I guess in these few years of experimenting, I grew this very complicated multi-offer business, which you see a lot of people have. And they say it's great. Don't leave money on the table. Just serve people at every stage of their journey, don't take all the money.
Yeah.
And I just found myself working loads, burning out, feeling really disillusioned, never having creative space, never having time to grow stuff, and not really known for anything. I was like a generalist, the classic generalist.
Business
Um,
coaching at this point.
Business coaching, yeah,
Yeah.
marketing.
So the mum's bit had stopped. That stopped.
And mum's bit was still there. I
Uh-huh.
helped mums grow,
Yeah.
get clients, but
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
getting more and more bored with the mum conversation. A
Hmm.
bit like when you have a baby and you just want to talk about like changing nappies,
Yeah.
and they're 3 and you're like, no, I'm done. I don't want to talk about how you can't shower. I don't want to talk about X, Y, and Z. It's just not
Yeah.
interesting to me anymore. So I was naturally leaning away from the mum niche and feeling more and more internal resistance. People saying, well, why is this so non-inclusive? And like,
Oh,
I've
really?
always wanted kids. And, like
Okay.
more and more like, oof, this is
Yeah.
like, I don't know why it's relevant for someone to be a
Yeah.
mum, work with me on this.
Yeah. Right.
Um, that's just that painful niching piece.
Mm.
So I was getting more and more inspired by these entrepreneurs like Denise Duffield Thomas,
Uh-huh.
Taki Moore, and I
Mm-hmm.
was in Taki Moore's program at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
they all had this one program model.
Mm-hmm.
And Taki Moore just said to me over and over again, like, when are you going to shut down your membership? When are you just going to focus on things? When are you going to do this? And
Mm.
it took him like a year of saying that. And then I was like, I think you might be onto something. You know how you got to kind of realize
Yeah.
yourself.
You got to do it in your own time. Yeah.
So I shut everything down, closed down
Mm-hmm.
this wonderful membership that was like it was like my 10K base income every month.
Mm-hmm.
And I closed down all my offers and I niched
Yeah.
on the obvious thing, which was group programs, because that's where I'd really enjoyed serving. And I've spent the last 4 years like 90% focusing on one thing and then
Mm-hmm.
spiraling off creative projects. Like I run a program with another coach called Weeks That Work.
Great. Okay, I was going to go there in a moment, so you can tell. We'll go to weeks that work in a minute, but just what is the 90% then
What's the
now?
90%? Yeah. So it's called Amplify.
Yeah.
And I help people create a group program. And there's like the evolution of group programs as well. So like to launch your first group program when you're like fully booked with one-on-one and you're like, I've got no time and space. How do I serve in a more leveraged way? So
Mm-hmm.
to create that first group program and
Mm-hmm.
like launch a cohort of it, running
Mm-hmm.
10 to 20 people through it. And then the evolution of that is to move to the model I have, which
Mm-hmm.
is to have a group program that's open all the time
Mm-hmm.
and to get better at marketing and sales. So you can enroll 3 months and just get into this wonderful rhythm of enrollment where you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to launch, you don't have to enroll 20 clients at once or have like really heavy sales periods.
Yeah.
You can just focus on slow, consistent growth and sales.
So you've got the course and people work through video content, do they, in their own time? I mean,
They
how
do.
does it work? Yeah.
So it's a self-paced course, but then there's weekly calls
Yeah.
uh, for 3 weeks of the month. So I have 1 week off a month from the
Yeah,
program.
great. Okay. That
Uh,
was my next question. Just thinking, where are you ever getting time off in this
yeah.
model?
Well, I take August off,
Okay.
and then I take a week off a month.
Yeah. Okay. Have you got a team, Gemma?
A very small one.
Uh-huh.
So I have an online business manager.
Mm-hmm.
She basically just runs my entire business. She
Oh,
does everything. Uh,
great.
I have someone who runs my ads.
Mm,
About to bring that in-house though. So my online business manager is learning from my ads person how to do it.
great.
And I have two support coaches within my program. An ads
Mm-hmm.
person, who's the same ads person that runs my
So
ads.
you teach ads.
We teach ads.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a copy coach who reviews all of our clients' marketing stuff.
Great.
Yeah,
Fab.
and that's it. And I just brought on a new team member to support with marketing, which is a
Mm-hmm.
nice new fun addition. But yeah, I hate managing people, and
Mm,
I never wanted a big business. I just
mm-hmm.
wanted a lean, fun, small team. But my assistant is like a unicorn because she's good at everything.
Oh, how wonderful. That
Yeah.
is the dream, isn't it? That is the dream. Great. Okay, so you mentioned weeks that work. Do you want to tell us about that? What is it?
Yeah. So my first ever coach, Greg Faxon, a couple of years ago now, he reached out and said, "Oh, can I come and do a talk in your Facebook group on the softer skills of business? Like, how
Mm-hmm.
do you have the discipline and the motivation and the habits and the rituals to make your business a
Mm-hmm.
success?" And I replied, and I was like, "Oh, that's so funny you messaged about that because I was thinking about doing a program on this. Would you be up for talking about it?" And he was like, "Yeah." So we hopped on a call, and Weeks That Work was born. And it's like all of the fundamentals that most people don't know and do, like how do you create a weekly structure, and how
Mm-hmm.
do you create systems that support it, and how do you create the mindset that means you bounce back from challenges, and the metrics that you track. It's like if you just had like a foundational business school, like these are the things you need to do,
Mm-hmm.
as well as what's your repeatable strategy for getting clients. And the
Mm-hmm.
whole premise is how do you create a week that works for you. And
Mm-hmm.
it really fits in with what I teach because it's like this rhythm rather than these like big launches. It's like, what's the rhythm of your business?
Yeah, great. That sounds wonderful. I imagine it's very popular.
Yeah, well, we just ran it for the second time. It was a good lesson because like the first time we ran it, we had 89 people join us in that
Uh-huh.
beta round. And so we launched it again in November. And this time we had 24. And we were like, huh. And we'd like doubled the price. And we
Uh-huh.
changed the sales page. And it was a really humbling lesson and don't change too much at once. Because we were like,
Yeah.
we have no idea what it was. Like, was it the double the
Oh,
price?
I see.
Did it
Yeah.
change the message? Was it because all of our super fans bought the first time?
Right.
That's what
Yeah.
happens when you launch something. So we're in the middle of this second cohort, and it's wonderful because we have a really nice group. Whereas I was really overwhelmed with 89 people. Like it was
Mm,
too
yeah. Yeah. Do you have, I mean, what are the numbers like in your Amplify program? Do you get big numbers like that?
so it's always between 30 and 40 people.
Uh-huh.
That's it. I never accept more than
Do you
40.
yeah, you cap it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So you mentioned about how being obviously you're a mum, you have a son, um, and how do you balance running your business with being a mum? You mentioned you take August off and you have a week
Yes.
off a month. Do you mean you have literally a week off every
No, but I
month?
could. I have a
Really?
week off from client delivery. So like I will also put that week off whenever half term is.
Oh yeah,
So
great.
half term in February, I'm having a
Mm,
week off. But I don't tend to, if my son isn't off, I'm always more drawn to working in my business than I am to taking a week off. I love
yeah,
working in my business, especially like the behind the scenes stuff.
yeah,
Um, so for me, my week that works is 25 hours, and that's my goal
yeah.
every I do never work more than 25 hours. So I've split from my ex-husband. So for the days I have my son, I work short days. I drop him
Mm,
at school. I start work at 9:30. I finish at 3. And for the days I don't have him, I work till 5.
yeah. Okay. So, oh yeah, so you're sharing. I I've got a best friend who's got, co-parenting, and then a little bit of me. I mean, obviously, I adore my children, and
Yeah, no, there's pros, right? There's pros
yeah,
to part-time childcare. There is.
I,
There's
I,
also heart-wrenching
of
emotional
course.
pain, but there are wonderful
Oh,
pros.
I
Like
mean, I
tonight,
think in
I
the
just lost
early
myself.
days as
Yeah,
well, particularly. Well, I think actually at each age. How old's your son?
he's 8.
Yeah, he's between my two. So my daughters are 6 and 9. Yeah, so they're similar age. Yeah, and then just my friend who has also has a business, and she's able to just get real focus time, hours at a time. Anyway, but yeah, my partner Rob has just recently kind of upped his working hours. He got a new job, and so I had to kind of pick up the
Mm.
slack and do all the school runs now, whereas he was doing them before. So yeah, yeah.
Well, this is
Sometime,
actually, yeah, in
go
that
on.
fact that when me and my husband were together, he didn't work because my business had been doing
Mm,
well. This is a mistake I made. Don't retire someone who, potentially you're not going to be with because it creates a bit of an issue.
yeah,
But now he's gone back to teaching. I have to do every school run, and I have to
yeah.
drive and pick my son up every morning from his house that he's there. So I actually have less balance now than before because before we
I
had
had a house
in here,
husband.
although I had a house husband. I lost the house husband.
Every woman's dream. Well, maybe every businesswoman's dream.
Yeah. Um, but that's made me even more intent on sticking to my schedule because the time with my son, this is the wonderful thing about having your
Mm,
child half the time, is I am so grateful for every moment. You cannot physically be grateful for your child every moment when they're there all the time
yeah,
because you're
it's hard,
like,
isn't it?
yeah, I just need some fucking space. Whereas
Yeah,
now I'm like, okay, I have Mondays and Thursdays with him. Like in the week, they're my days with
yeah.
him. And so I make an effort on those days.
Yeah, and you can clear, I mean, presumably, I mean, speaking to other people who have similar setups, you can get all the work done on the days when you're working and then just clear the schedule a little bit as much as possible when they're outside of the school hours anyway. Well, maybe, hopefully, you're not working it in the evenings anyway.
No way. No, I'm dreadful.
No.
My brain, even if I wanted to, my brain does not function
Yeah.
past 5 o'clock.
No, no, mine neither anymore. Don't know what's happened. I actually picked up novels again last year, right? Because for the last like 4 years, I've been just a personal growth junkie and just like reading every single personal growth business book, you know, everything. And then something happened about a year ago and I just didn't care anymore about any of that. And I just wanted to read novels and get lost in another world. How about you? What do you do in the evening to relax?
So I've been on a similar journey to you with that, and that, yeah, I obsessively read non-fiction personal development books, and now I'm back to now. So I'm reading a wonderful book at the moment called it's just my favorite thing. And Satish, who was at summer camp, she mentions him in it, A Year of Living Simply by Kate
Ah,
Humble, which I am so
that's a
enjoying.
that's a good name, isn't it? For
Yeah.
a year of living simply. Do you think that's her real name? Kate
Uh,
Humble.
Kate Humble, and then I just read Wintering by Catherine
Oh
May.
yeah,
I
I've
adored.
heard of that. Yeah.
So I read, me and my new partner, we have a rule that we don't watch TV in the week.
Yeah.
Um, so we often just go to bed and chat and cuddle.
Mm,
What
oh,
else do I do? Take the dog for a walk, go to the
yeah.
gym, eat, cook,
Yeah.
just try to slow down the pace. And I go to bed ridiculously early.
Do you? Do you get up ridiculously early as well?
Yeah, my son has never slept past 6 a.m. since he was.
Yeah.
So I don't, and then because I have to go get him now from his dad's, I saw someone the other day, an American, say, my daughter, I have not slept past 7:30 since she was born. I was like, 7:30 is a fucking lion.
Totally. No, mine are early risers too. I feel your pain. Yeah.
But I am an early riser anyway. So yeah, I go to bed like 10 is late for me, 9 is
Mm,
late.
mm. There's magic in the early morning, isn't there? I think, like dawn. And I mean, there was a time when I was getting up before the kids and habitually
Oh, me
making that
too. Like the
quiet.
5 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah,
Creeping past him. And then he started waking up and I was like, this
yeah.
is pointless.
And it's so stressful. Like, the creeping, like, am I gonna wake them up? And then have to deal with all their, morning stuff. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, you mentioned summer camp there, and that feels like a great thing to talk about because we were there. So I met you twice in was it both in the well, one was I said I had Lawrence on the podcast last week or 2 weeks ago, Lawrence McCahill, who is the what's the word?
Founder.
Thank you, founder of Summer Camp. Yeah. So hopefully people listening know what that is now. But I saw you there and also at Tad's event. So let's how did you which one should we go to first? Let's talk about summer camp. What was that like for you? Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. And I had a chat last week with Carlos, the other founder of Summer Camp, who asked if I wanted to hop on a one-on-one and just get to know each other. And we just spent, like you might talk about what you do. We just went straight to like relationships, trauma, personal development. And we got to the end of the half an hour. We were like, oh, we've run out of time. Um,
I love it when that
I,
happens.
that sort of summarizes my experience of summer camp. For me, summer camp was like the thing I didn't know I need that I've been searching for ever
Yeah.
since I became an entrepreneur.
Oh,
I've joined many masterminds and programs that have been
yeah.
entirely misaligned and felt like there was something wrong with me. Like, why don't I like this?
Mm.
What feels misaligned? And I think they would, people at different stages of their personal development journey, at different stages of their level of awareness and their values.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Them. And summer camp was just like coming home, like nature
Oh,
and like-minded souls and experiences, and it was beautiful. I loved it.
yes, so nice. And gosh, and yeah, I feel well, I've had maybe similar experiences in business communities. Yeah. That and a similar sense of homecoming and that I spent a lot of my 20s and late teens at like in a field in
Yeah.
dancing or doing whatever, like just having fun in a field in Britain. I love that British festival culture. I mean I think it's probably quite unique. I don't know, but with all the flags and decoration. And, I think what I love about festivals is that people are so relaxed,
Yeah, they
and
let go of their inhibitions a bit, don't
they
they? And
really do. Maybe
they kind of
it's,
show like this is what I would be if I was allowed to be this person in society.
yes, Gemma, that's it. I think that's why I love it so much because,
Yeah.
like, I just, yeah. And I wouldn't it, yeah. I guess it takes me to like, well, why aren't we all always like that? Um,
Conditioning, control.
conditioning. Yeah, exactly. Um, Yeah. So summer camp was beautiful. It's like a homecoming. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Like what a beautiful way of bringing together that way of being that's much more relaxed and easeful and fun with business.
And I've been in a period of growth for the 2 years since separating from my ex-husband of just, deep, deep pain and trauma. And that's like, I joined some experiences that just weren't the safe space I needed to hold me during that time. And then I came to summer camp and I didn't really even engage in anything they put on because I
Yeah.
just didn't need to receive
Yeah.
anything. But just being in that space, it felt safe.
Yeah. Oh, it was so nice. It was, yeah. I feel like I could just say it was so nice repeatedly. But yeah, really, really beautiful experience. Okay, so that was summer camp. Oh, and you mentioned Satish as well. So did you listen to some of the talks?
Yes,
Yeah,
so teachers talk. And then I got ridiculously excited this morning because in my book, The Year of Living Simply, she mentioned Satish. And I was like, how many Satishas are there that were monks that walked
right.
walked the globe? And then she goes and interviews him in the book or chats to him.
Yeah,
And I just, I was just remembering his talk at summer camp and the energy and his vibrancy,
yeah,
values and his calm. And
yeah,
then she was talking about him in the book, and this book is sort of, talking about everything that is resonating with me right now about letting go of materialism and
yeah,
living simply and being more at one with nature and using
Great.
our hands, and
Yeah.
being mindful and not just using our
Yeah.
intellect and just going back to a simpler times. And it was just such a beautiful circle that she then brought Satish in, and I was felt just so grateful that I had met him at summer camp and got to experience, his wisdom.
I mean, what a special man. He was literally giving off light, like he was glowing when he was
She asks
talking.
him that in the book. She says to him, "How are you like this?
What did he
What's
say?
your
Can you
secret?"
remember?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course. And it was literally this morning. He said, walking, gardening, and cooking.
Yeah. Oh, you see, it's just doing simple things, isn't it, that you enjoy, kind of connecting you to the bigger picture, I think, in a way. Yeah, he was so lovely. And actually he agreed to come on the podcast. I need to get back in touch with him to schedule that. So that people listening will have that to look forward to. Um, I'll have to do that one as a video so that
Mm,
so that people can see
yeah.
his sparkle. Um, so yeah, the other event that where we first met Gemma was in the summer as well last year, was at Tad Hargrave's event. How did you come? Because you were talking there, you did a little half an hour at Tad's
Yeah.
event. So that was great. How did you come across Tad and how did that come about?
So a long, long time ago when I had my membership, I invited Tad to come do a talk. And I think I initially found Tad probably through Greg Faxon, my first coach.
Yeah.
Um, and so we've just been in touch over the years and in each other's worlds. He'd come and done he was touring the UK and he asked if anyone basically wanted to fill an event for him. And I was like, yes, I'll fill an event for you. And I emailed out multiple times to my list. And so he was touring across the country. And I think all around the country, he'd be having like my little audience members turn up and be like, Gemma sent me. And so he was like, grateful and saying, it's really nice. Thank you so much. And he invited me to come talk at the London one. So I came down and it was a lovely a lovely experience to meet Tad's crew and be in his space.
Yeah, yeah. It was really nice, wasn't it? And then I'd been tasked with finding a restaurant for dinner afterwards, and I was a
Such
bit
good food.
bit nervous about that, I'll be
Yeah, that's a
honest.
lot of responsibility, isn't it?
I was like, I found this really like five-star Greek restaurant, and Tad's like, I hate Greek food. Like, okay, great. So let's try something else. Yeah. Anyway, tapas it was in the end, and it was good, wasn't it?
It
Sangria,
was,
I think we had.
yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really nice way to end the day.
And it's so nice to meet people that you have only known online, isn't it? It's like quite a surreal and also very natural thing. It's like, have you had that experience
Oh
before?
my God. Yeah, one of my clients came to Tad's thing and walked up to me and was like, "Hey, Gemma." I was like, "Graham."
You're real.
And it always surprises me how tall or short people are.
Right.
Because you are not this in my head. You are not that tall or that short, and it just throws me for a second.
Like
People's
Tad, so tall.
Tad is so
Yeah,
tall.
I can believe it.
And it's funny because I get really nervous when I meet people in person because people have from the online version of me, they have this idea that I'm like this super confident, energetic person. I'm not like that in person. I'm quite quiet, quite reserved. Um,
Mm.
and so I then feel this pressure to live up to this persona
Mm.
that they have. That is just
Yeah.
not me.
It's quite impressive that you managed to put that forward, that people pick up that you're um, more confident than you feel you are. I mean, maybe that's from your background in teaching. I mean, the being able to just stand up and talk about things. I mean, what do you put that down to?
It's like in a one-on-one conversation like this, I'm entirely at ease, entirely myself. In a one-on-one, even when I'm presenting, it's almost like a one-on-one. I know there's lots of people, but it doesn't feel like that. Where I become a bit more insular is in a group like summer camp. I all of a sudden have that. I don't belong. I don't know anyone. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to create meaningful conversation. Everyone seems to know each other, and all of the old stories of not
Yeah.
fitting come up. And I think why I enjoyed summer camp is because I didn't go to a lot of the group stuff. I
Mm,
just sat on benches and went for a swim, and the odd person would join me and we'd have these conversations. I was like, this is what I need. I didn't know I needed, but this is what
yeah.
I needed.
Mm, beautiful. So special, wasn't it, to have that lake to swim in?
It's just like, and the weather,
The
like,
weather was incredible. Just, I mean, for Britain to get weather like that, just
mhm.
blue skies. I mean, it was cold in the morning, but then hot in the day. It was
In
really
the day, and
perfect.
two of my former clients, and we're in a peer mastermind together now, came.
Mm, hmm.
And that was such a nice safety blanket for me
Yeah,
because otherwise I would have known you, which would have been
yeah,
wonderful. But like they were like, okay, cool. I've got like my base. Like there's three of
yeah,
us, we know each other. And
yeah,
if
yeah,
you go eat lunch with someone, I can walk towards you type
yeah,
thing.
yeah. It
So
is a bit nerve-wracking to be in a big group like that. And yeah, especially when a lot of those people have been going for 10 years or something, or, just years and years, and people do know each other. Oh, I personally speaking, I mean, I try and remember that how, because it's easy when you're on the other side of that and you're part of the group and you know everyone. It's so
yeah,
easy, isn't it, to forget that what it's like as an outsider, like forget how intimidating the group is. So yeah, just trying to, I have a personal practice of like trying to remember, you know, speak to everyone coming in to
yeah.
try and make them at ease.
I think it's a wonderful skill, people that naturally smile at others and make them feel at ease because I very much wait for someone to smile at me.
You.
Yeah, I really struggle to be that the welcoming one. Uh,
Ah,
I shut down, I disassociate from the situation and go inward.
gosh. The therapist in me is desperate to get to the bottom of that, but I'm not. I'm like, okay, don't do that.
Go on, therapize me. Tell me why.
Oh gosh, it's terrible. I mean, honestly, you can't. I take it with me everywhere I go. Every single person I meet, and they say something, and I'm like, don't ask them about their childhood. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I'm the same just from my own learning, about
yeah,
therapy and psychology. And when people tell me their relationship dynamics, I'm like, do I mention attachment
yeah.
styles?
I think it's really a sign of being an adult, isn't it? When you have the choice of not mentioning it. Yeah. Everyone's so forthcoming with their opinions all the time.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. I'm looking at my page of things I was going to ask you about, just see if I've missed anything. Yeah. So your program, your niche, Gemma, Amplify it's called, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is for somebody. I've got who's your ideal client written here. So do you want to answer that one?
Yeah. So there's two scenarios that are common. The one is your classic fully booked with one-on-one therapist is a nice example. You get fully booked with your one-on-one roster and you think, yes, I've done it. And then you
Yeah.
realize, oh no, I'm repeating myself to every single client and I'm stuck doing back-to-back calls. So that's the classic full with your one-on-one coach or therapist and they want to create a group program. And the second group, they're already running group programs and they're running them in these cohorts and they're sort of trapped in these launch deliver cycles. They launch it, it's really intense, they deliver it, their income drops, they launch it again, and they're like this, that either what if the launch doesn't work or I'm really burnt out after every launch, I'm too tired to even deliver the program. And so this is where I help them shift to this evergreen format where you can enroll clients each month into your program. Everyone gets super
Mm.
confused about this. Like, how does it work? How has everyone
Mm.
at different points? And it's just so much simpler than that when you have a recorded curriculum. It just allows people to come and learn with you and join your live calls and be in your space and reach their goal on a more natural timeline than we
Yeah.
try and force when people do cohort programs. You are going to progress at the decided pace of learning, regardless or
Yeah.
not, whether that fits you and your lifestyle and your goals.
Yeah, beautiful. I can kind of see how that could work. Um, do you have people? I mean, two questions. Well, first question is, what about the person who's not? I mean, so you're saying somebody who's got full roster of one-to-one clients, and then the other person was someone who's and is ready to move to a one-to-many
Yeah.
um, program as a kind of way of what's the word system. Um, And the other person is someone who's already launched, already got a group program, but they're doing cohorts
Yeah.
instead of evergreen enrollment. What about someone who's earlier in the journey? Because people listening may not be at that stage yet. What, what what's your advice for that? I mean, I suppose in terms of getting to the point at which they might be then ready to consider that. Have you got
Yeah.
some words of wisdom for them?
Grow your audience, grow
Yeah,
your
what are your
community.
best methods for growing audience?
To pick one thing and do it really well over and over again. Um, so like, for me, it was my Facebook group initially, and now I've moved more away from social media and run ads to my email list. So it doesn't really matter the method you choose, whether it's Instagram,
Yeah,
TikTok, or like running local workshops and filling your email list, but
yeah,
do one thing really, really well until you grow your audience. Because I have a lot of people that might come to me and they're entirely referral based and they're
yeah,
like, I want to shift to a group. And I've let lots of these people in, but it's hard
yeah,
because you don't have control over your lead flow. And all of a sudden you
yeah,
need more leads than you did one-on-one. So often you can get a group off the ground and you can so if you just want to test a group, I've
hmm
let people in to do that with them.
hmm
But if you want to fill a group and fill that again and again and again, you need your own audience.
yeah,
And my ideal client has already done that,
yeah,
proved that they can put in the work and grow their own audience and have a
yeah,
clear. Obviously, I help them improve their message as part of our work
hmm
together. But my ideal client has an email list or a really strong social media following.
You mentioned about Facebook groups. I mean, I've been using Facebook for as like primary social media, despite kind of despite hating it, quite
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah.
And I hate it increasingly.
Yeah, me too.
Like every day, I feel like I hate it more. Um, Yeah. And yet I've got, there's people there that genuine, lovely connections that I don't want to let go of. Um, but yeah, ads is an interesting one. And I mean, running, and I love that this is what you were talking about at Tad's workshop. Your slot was what you spoke about. It was great. I mean, pick one thing. The simplicity of that is just, yeah, such a relief to the system. So do you recommend ads then to people when they're earlier in their journey?
I think ads is a steep learning curve and it's not something you want to test a message on. So
Yeah.
you want to be confident your message is working organically because
Hmm.
ads is expensive. That's the big
Yeah.
downside of ads. I'm talking about Facebook ads here,
Uh-huh.
Instagram ads. Obviously, different kinds of ads are different price points, and the right kind of ads is going to depend on how people buy. So, like a
Mhm.
therapist is going to be better doing Google ads because people are looking to purchase then.
Yeah.
Whereas Facebook ads are more to build an email list to
Hmm.
have people buy with a little bit more nurturing, as is
Hmm.
needed in the coaching industry. So no, I don't recommend ads at the
Hmm.
beginning.
Yep.
You need proven success with your
Hmm.
message, and you don't want to test it in a very expensive way. Um, but it's so hard to grow an audience. The reality is organically that for our clients to help them fill their group programs, ads is such a great piece to get in place
Yeah.
because then, I have a very simple marketing strategy. I just email my list twice a week
Yeah.
and I have the most half-assed presence on Facebook. I basically share my emails on my personal profile and have a
Yeah.
very neglected group that
Yeah.
occasionally I post in. And
Yeah.
I this year have come to peace with my half-assed strategy.
Yeah.
It's never going to be a full social media
Yeah.
strategy. There is value of it. Like there is
Yeah.
value in my sporadic
Yeah.
presence, and people like that you're there. It's sometimes a bit weird when someone's not on social media, like Greg Faxon isn't.
Yeah.
And there's the lack of presence
Yeah.
other than you can see him on YouTube or his email list.
Mm.
You miss that.
It's funny. Yeah, like it's like going, I don't know who said this, but it's like going into someone's house. It's like getting a little, I mean, it's obviously not like going into their house, but in a way it is because there's like a load of, you can just have a look through and just pick up their vibe and watch some videos and, just get a feel for a person. Yeah. So it does have benefits, doesn't it?
It does, and that's where I'm at with it at the moment.
So half-assed. But I'm guessing that you wouldn't recommend being half-assed if that was your one thing.
No, no, exactly. I've been half-assed since running ads because
Yeah.
that's my one thing, but I grew my business on Facebook
But
for
when
the
do you think that it seems to me like Facebook and particularly Facebook groups, it like had this golden era of,
yeah, and now it's like died a death and they're all dead and no one's getting visibility. And
is
it's surprising.
that is true, is it? That's a thing because that's
Yeah,
how it feels to
Facebook
me.
have
Yeah.
really very much changed the algorithm, and it's short-sighted because
Yeah.
groups is pretty much the only thing Facebook has going for it,
Right. Yeah.
and personal profiles. Business profiles are
Yeah.
very much paid to play. So
Yeah.
considering no other social media platform has managed to replicate the power of a Facebook group, it
Yeah.
surprises me that they don't put the weight in that. I also think, especially in the entrepreneurial circle, people just got a bit oversaturated with groups. So they started to lose their effectiveness
Yeah.
in that respect as well. Um, so yeah, it's like the shifting tide of marketing. But for people our age, Facebook's kind of the easy home, isn't it? These
Yeah.
new ones are like, oh no, have I got to go onto TikTok or
Yeah. Yeah,
a
absolutely.
lot of
I
my
don't.
clients have such fast growth on TikTok because it's
Oh,
such an easy
really?
grow on, yeah.
Have you done the research then? Have you learned about TikTok so that you can teach it?
So I'm never going to be, I'm never going to be the kind of marketer that plays to algorithms like that. But I have plenty of clients that use TikTok really well. So I
Mm,
know it from
mm,
working with people, but not using it myself. I'm
yeah.
not even on it.
No, me neither. I think I maybe made an account once. I don't. Yeah, I feel so old, Gemma. Feel so old. Um, I'm aware that we're coming to the end of our time, and it's been lovely getting to know you and hearing a bit about your story. Um, so if people are listening and they want to find out more, where can they go, Gemma, to find out more about you?
So the core place is my website, gemmagilbert.com. The homepage will show you my three-part signature workshop series. So if you're interested in growing a group program, it takes you through my philosophy and framework for growing that ethically and sustainably. If you do want to follow me on social media, just add me as a friend on Facebook, Gemma Gilbert. And I have, like I say, this very neglected Facebook group, Gemma
Get the
Gilbert.
half-assed.
If you want to see my half-assed social media marketing, come join my Facebook group. There are so many videos in my Facebook group there because I've been running. So it's a
What's the
treasure
group
trove.
called?
It's called Gemma Gilbert Grow with Group Programs. And I just hit 5,000 members, which means I can't change the name anymore. So it's
Oh,
forever going to be
really?
Gemma Gilbert Grow with Group Programs.
I guess it could have been worse.
Yeah.
And just don't change your name.
When it was called Mummy's Got Clients, people used to say like it makes me think of like a prostitute with like a catalogue of clients. And I always quite like that. I was like, how hilarious.
Great. Oh, that's brilliant. I think that's a perfect moment to leave it and sign off. Gemma, it's been such a pleasure having you on the podcast. Thanks so much for being a guest.
We finally made it happen. I'm delighted.
Yeah, gosh, we rescheduled about 5 times, I think, didn't we?
We both had like, just those worst life things pop up. It was like the next one to email going, I'm really sorry, but
It just seemed that it wasn't meant to happen until today. So it's
until
a
today.
miracle it actually did.
Thanks so much.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks so much, Gemma. All the best to you. Oh, that was the lovely Gemma. Isn't she lovely? Isn't she? Wasn't that lovely? Well, I certainly enjoyed speaking to her. Really enjoyed that. So if you want to find out more about Gemma Gilbert and you're at that point, maybe you're booked up with one-to-one, you're thinking about running group programs, and you're curious to hear more about this evergreen group model, head to gemmagilbert.com and you can download Gemma's workshop series right there from the homepage. And then there are, of course, links to find out more about her programs. So, and as always, if you have enjoyed this podcast, please follow the show, subscribe, send it to somebody who you think might enjoy it. That really helps me to grow my reach. And if you are an entrepreneur, you're listening to this, you have a business, I just would love to tell you a little bit about what I do. The work that I do is kind of complementary to somebody like Gemma. Gemma deals in the strategy and what people can find when they start to do something like growing a group program. And I certainly found this when I did my first group programs, was that they experienced extreme fear and resistance to doing this. And this was all about safety. You know, it's not safe to be seen. Real fears around that. So this is what I do, actually. Is my area of expertise is helping people to understand why they feel this fear of being seen, of, you know, taking their business to the next level. It can kind of bring out some of the old fears and demons in the closet. But when you understand why you are stuck or resistant, and maybe when you start to see that a part of you is simply trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you alive, actually, it's relatively straightforward to rewire or change that belief and start telling yourself a better story that will be more supportive of you getting your message out there into the world and making the difference that you're here to make, that you're really capable of making, and that you're inspired to make. So if you would like to hear more about my work, you can go to truewealthwithbetty.com, and from there you can book yourself a gift session. And as always, if you have enjoyed this podcast, please follow the show, subscribe, send it to somebody who you think might enjoy it. That really helps me to grow my reach. All the links are in the show notes. And to find out about Gemma, it's gemmagilbert.com. All right, I'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.